freedom, travel, and romance. These three elements come together to form the best VR fantasy game in the world, called the Chrono Life, or at least that's how it's advertised. But in reality,
Get lost, you fool.
We don't accept amateurs.
Your gear is trash.
everyone in the game is so unwelcoming to Jai Yu on his first time playing. Jai Yu becomes furious at this toxic player base. How can these people not recognize how cool his sword is? After all, Jai Yu has spent real money on this starting gear. When suddenly out of nowhere a beautiful girl approaches Jai Yu and asks to join his party. Being a total virgin, Jai Yu now thinks it's the best game ever. Later, they go out hunting, and the girl keeps praising Jai Yu. Getting full of himself, he starts flexing his gear, saying my family is rich. And when the girl calls him a hero, Jai Yu immediately falls in love with her, even starts imagining names for their future daughter. Although his dream gets crushed when suddenly, out of nowhere, the girl stabs Jai Yu in his stomach. Jai Yu has no idea what's happening as he lies there in his own blood, while the girl stands with a cold-blooded smirk on her face. Jai Yu thinks it's for the gear, but the girl says she doesn't want his trash gear. Her only goal was to kill him. She then starts to throw insults at Jai Yu, calling him an effing loser who comes from a beggar family. Enraged by this, Jai Yu stands up to fight, but the girl effortlessly chops him in half. Then the girl suddenly starts transforming. Her goal of unaliving a 1,000 people is complete, unlocking her hidden class goddess of life. That day Jai Yu realizes this game follows the law of the jungle. Later he respawns in a back ally, reflects on what has happened, and with tears in his eyes he pulls the reinforcement hammer and strikes his sword. But with his sad luck, the reinforcement fails and the sword breaks. He tries again with his other equipment, but he keeps failing again and again until he lies there in his undies overwhelmed with hopelessness. When suddenly an NPC-looking guy comes, throws a stick his way, refuses to elaborate, and leaves. Seeing the stick lying there for no reason, Jai Yu tries reinforcement on the stick, and it works. He tries again and again, and it keeps on working, doubling the damage of the weapon each time. After it has reached the maximum plus 99 reinforcement, it slips Jai Yu's hand, and when trying to catch it, Jai Yu swings the stick by accident, and a huge planet-sized slash runs down the whole globe, cutting the whole continent in half, shocking everybody. That day a world record is formed, as with this single strike Jai Yu has destroyed 850,617 players, and his notoriety has increased to the max. Meanwhile, Jai Yu sits there with the most evil smile on his face. Now with his new weapon he can finally take his revenge. All his life Jai Yu has always been an ordinary nobody. Explaining it in RPG terms, he's a bronze 4 tier. A pretty sad tier indeed in any game. But now things have changed, because this time when one of the bullies tries to scare Jai Yu calmly taps his skull with the stick, which instantly vaporizes him. And finally, when Jai Yu starts feeling like the main character in this world, suddenly a warning appears, saying his weapon is low on durability. Turns out, he can only use the weapon 3 more times before durability runs out. That's bad news, but Jai Yu forms a plan. And still in his undies, Jai Yu quickly leaves for a terrifying-looking dungeon to fight the strongest mob around, to make the most of his last few attacks. While there, a gigantic 2-headed dragon called Eurus approaches Jai Yu and says with the utmost arrogance,
You foolish mortal, ye shall struggle in overwhelming despair.
And in an instant, one of Eurus's heads gets vaporized by Jai Yu. So all the arrogance disappears and Eurus instantly switches to begging for his dear life. After one more hit, Eurus is nearly gone. When Jai Yu starts to complain out loud about how this hit will end the stick's durability, Eurus overhears this and offers his soul in exchange for getting his life spared. You see, if Eurus's soul possesses Jai Yu's stick, the stick will evolve into an ego weapon with limitless durability. Jai Yu's hope of getting his revenge rekindles, and while laughing like a total maniac, he accepts the offer, and in a moment the evolution of the stick to an ego weapon is successful. Finally, it's time for revenge. Meanwhile, wanted posters are being issued all around town. Looks like the government has issued a bounty of 1 billion gold on the capture of Jai Yu. People hear the sound of marching boots from a distance. It seems like the legendary players of Chrono Life are beginning to gather to capture Jai Yu. Master Saintry heads the Holy Guild. Elite Knight Suho heads the Crossline Guild. Strongest Magician of the Royal Family Abracadabra heads the Holy Land Guild. The Mysterious Hong heads the Robin Hood Guild, while the King of the Arden Castle Hawkeye heads all of them. The top 5 strongest guilds have united, and their only goal is to capture or unalive Jai Yu. Elsewhere, a mini version of Eurus sprouts from Jai Yu's stick, which shocks Jai Yu. Eurus then explains that only Jai Yu can see this projection of Eurus since his soul now resides in this newly formed ego weapon. Then out of nowhere, a piece of paper falls from the sky, and it's Jai Yu's own wanted poster. Jai Yu is a bit concerned, but Eurus starts to get excited when he hears Jai Yu has unalived 800,000 players. Being a monster, he wants Jai Yu to eradicate everybody. But Jia has other plans. Now that he is famous, he wants to be the cool protagonist who keeps his real power hidden. However, before he could stop speaking, an arrow pierces his back and Jia falls to the ground. This arrow was shot by Hawkeye, the leader of the Union. He has Jia surrounded from all sides to get him into jail. Jia stands up and removes the arrow from his back, while all the soldiers charge to capture Jia on Hawkeye's orders. Jia smiles like a maniac and counterattacks, saying, "You have brought this upon yourselves." And later, when the dust settles, only Hawkeye remains alive, while the whole army, nay, the whole city has turned to ash. Shocked to his core, Hawkeye pulls out a summoning crystal and brings the rest of the guilds. Their well-equipped forces surround Jia with soldiers covering every inch of the soil for as far as the eye can see. The soldiers attack Jia all at once, so without hesitation, Jia starts swinging his weapon around. Eurus is shocked to see Jia's power and resolve, since being the strongest mob in the world, Eurus and his monster army still can't deal with this many powerful people attacking all at once. Seeing an opening, Abracadabra casts her strongest ancient magic attack spell, but Jia easily breaks through it with a casual swing of his weapon. He then counterattacks her before she tries anything else. The fight continues and soldiers keep coming, and after a few hours of this one versus army situation, history has been made. A single guy has now fought and won against an army of 3 million rankers, with only Hawkeye still alive. As it turns out, Jia was holding back all this time to keep Hawkeye alive, since he was the one who shot the first arrow, so his punishment should be the worst. So, after Hawkeye has seen all his men bite the dust, Jia disposes of Hawkeye with a massive continent-level attack. Moments later, Jia sees a silhouette of a woman approaching from a distance. It can't be, that's the same girl that betrayed Jia. She casually walks closer and says, "Long time no see, Mr. Sloppy. Why is this girl not afraid?" She has walked right up to Jia even after betraying him. Jia gets filled with rage, but all he can do is laugh. The girl is calm and engages in small talk like it's nothing. Jia comments on how her hair has changed, and also he points out the irony of becoming the goddess of life after killing 1,000 people. Shouldn't she be the goddess of death or something? The girl treats the question like a joke and Jia starts launching attacks on her one after one, but she keeps on dodging with no problems. But then she starts being cocky, as she walks right into point-blank range of an insanely powerful attack by Jia. And surprisingly, it has no effect on her. It's all useless because she has now become a goddess and Jia is still just a mere mortal, no matter how powerful he is. Jia then launches a flurry of attacks shaking up the whole continent. But she just stands there and takes it like it's nothing. She just spreads her wings and walks even closer, mocking Jia, and after seeing nothing is working against her, Jia composes himself. His hatred of her is so great that he has a plan. A plan to destroy the whole freaking planet in the next attack. How is she going to live if there is no Earth to live on? But it will destroy Jia too. Who would try something this insane? Apparently, Jia's hatred is so strong that he just doesn't even care. Seeing this insanity unfold, even the goddess begins to sweat. And she and Eurus both become terrified as Jia, without any hesitation, swings the weapon with all his might, pointing directly at the ground. The planet is destroyed, but the story has just begun. Sorry for ending on such a cliffhanger. Let me know if you guys would like a part 2 of this manhwa. It's my first time making a video, so support for you guys is severely needed. So please like this video and press the subscribe button. And by the way, comment on how I should improve my upcoming videos since I am pretty new to this YouTube thing. That's all for today and see you next time.